staff, students, and other interested persons joining us via UWI-TV and Zoom. I will now ask the Pro-Vice Chancellor and the Principal, Open Campus, Dr. Luz Longsworth, to prepare themselves for their reports. The Principal will deliver the annual report to the Council. Thank you very much. During her report, the Principal will invite the Deputy Principal, Campus Librarian, and Directors on Academic Programming and Delivery Division, Consortium for Social Development and Research, and Open Campus Country Sites to speak to particular aspects of her report. Thank you very much, Principal.
Thank you very much, Chair. His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, and Lady Williams, Vice Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, our new Campus Council Chair, Ambassador Dr. June Suma, my colleague Principal, Professor Udine Barito, Pro-Vice Chancellors, and other senior members of the University, Chancellors' representatives, the representatives from our governments across the region, our student representatives, our alumni representatives, other members of council, staff of the Open Campus, members of the media, and of course, our viewing public across the region on UETV, which I'm sure includes my own family. Welcome. Today is another historic day for the Open Campus. I feel that we constantly make history in this campus, and every year I am able to start every presentation this way, which makes it much easier for me to find a way to begin the presentation. But this year is particularly historic. Last year in Belize, we were able to have, for the first time ever, I believe in the university's history, our Chancellor joining our Open Campus Council, and every principal of all of our campuses joined us. This year, we are doubly, triply, perhaps more than that, honored and blessed to have another historic moment. And the historians, of which we have many around the table, will be very happy to note and to put in the annals of the university the first time that we can say that we are honored by a Governor General of one of our countries sitting with us, listening to the work that our university is doing for the region. Sir Rodney, you do not know how much this means to us in the Open Campus, and to have your good wife join us. Thank you as well. Thank you. We also, of course, are very, very honored to have our brand new chair. And she is not unaccustomed to firsts, but I have to big up this first, because this is, of course, the first time that we have a female chair of a campus council for the University of the West Indies. So once again, the Open Campus is making history. And of course, you are making history again, Dr. Sumo. Another historic point as we move to the presentation itself is that we are today celebrating quite a lot of achievements. We are here to report on our achievements of the 2016-17 year, but I'm afraid, colleagues, that I'm going to do much, much, much more than that. I am going to do reflecting, reporting, and we will speak about our review, our re-energizing of the future. For our year to come, we have chosen a new theme for the Open Campus: opening doors to life-changing learning. So as we reflect on the legacy of this wonderful institution, 70 years of service, 70 years of leadership to this region, we know that some people will say life cannot be lived by looking in the rearview mirror. But I tend to differ. I think life can only really be lived if you look behind so you know what to expect in the future. And I think our historians will agree with me, of which we have so many. I believe we have 5 sitting around this table, and that may also be another first for the university. We also mark, as our chair indicated, a milestone, a major milestone. When I was growing up, I remember dying to reach double figures. Do you? Dying to get to double figures. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I was going to be there for such a long time. However, it was a huge milestone for me to get to 10. And here we are, the Open Campus, at 10 years. So in the report, we will reflect on our 10 years. We will look at our performance in the last academic year, and we will hear from the people on the ground who do the work. Our deputy principal, our campus librarian who will be coming in via Zoom, our directors of academic programming and delivery, of the Consortium for Social Development and Research, and the Open Campus country sites. And then we will move to creating our future. So although we are reflecting and reporting, we're also looking to the future. The Open Campus is a child of strategy. We were born out of a strategy in 2007, 2008, when the university celebrated its 60th anniversary. I remember very clearly Sir George saying that we are a child of the university's old age. And we know how children of old age can be. But we have, over the last 10 years, executed the strategy along the path. In 2012, 2017, we executed the strategy looking at the 6 perspectives. This will be the last report on those perspectives. But it is a transition report that looks to the future of the AAA strategy of access, alignment, and agility, which we have already begun to implement with great enthusiasm in the Open Campus. And so the Open Campus has been on quite a journey over the last 10 years. It has not always been an easy journey, but you will remember, those of you who joined me last year at Council, that we chose the icon of a drone to represent the Open Campus's journey, and the Open Campus as a vehicle for carrying the university to the region. And so I want to share a little animation which might give you a hint of what our journey has been in the last few years, and certainly in the last year. And so, as you can see, we've had our storms, and I'm sure there are more storms to come. But we never forget why we do what we do. And we should never forget how we got here. And so very briefly, I want to pay tribute to the people who've helped us to get here. I want to pay tribute to our founding principal and founding deputy principal, to our second principal, who is here with us still, Professor Barito, to our Vice Chancellor who oversaw the birth, Emeritus, Professor Harris, and to say farewell again to our founding chair, Sir Dwight Venner, but to say welcome to the future with our new chair, Ambassador Dr. Sumer. We said farewell to our Chancellor last year, and he was here with us, and we welcome our new Chancellor. The past is always a part of the present, and it indicates what our future will be. And I think our future is indeed very, very bright. We have, over the last 10 years, been able to do perhaps what many thought was not possible given the restraints, the constraints that we've had with financing. However, we were able to move very, very quickly in the last 5 years with the support of partners who believe in the ethos and the mission as was read by our campus council chair for the Open Campus. In partnership with the Global Affairs Canada, the Government of Canada, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Universal Services Fund in Jamaica, the campus benefited from a grant and loan combination of 31 million Canadian dollars. And that has transformed this campus in the last 5 years. As you can see from our very happy student, we have been able to increase our courses online, over 155 in less than 5 years. 44 new continuing and professional education programs, upgraded technology, expanded library and information services, physically upgraded sites, an agile enterprise resource planning system, the introduction of a new pathway into the university through prior learning assessment, and of course, focusing on our people, training our staff at all levels. You will hear much more about these from the reports, but I just wanted to give you a single picture of what has been achieved in a relatively short time. But figures do not always speak fully, but I want to show you some things that might be surprising to you. And I want you to look at these figures and compare where we were when we started 10 years ago to where we are now. I know we have representatives from Anguilla, and just, alphabetically you are first. And I want us to look at where we were in Anguilla in terms of student enrollment in online degree programs. We had a total of 72. At the end of last year, the reporting period, 189. Antigua and Barbuda, our host, 160. 2016-17, 267. The Bahamas, from 31 to 254. Barbados, 155 to 304. Belize, we have represented as well, 90 to 170. Look at the impact that we have had. Doubling the number of students who are in their countries, on their soil, studying with the University of the West Indies, taking the University of the West Indies to the region, wherever you are. We have persons studying in undergraduate, certificate, master's, and now a doctoral program. We are extraordinarily proud of this, but we are more proud of the over 6,700 students that are currently studying with the Open Campus, doubling what we had when we started. But what is the impact of this? I remember going to a meeting and being asked, well, what is the impact that the Open Campus has had? And so for this presentation, I don't want you to only hear our voices. I want you to hear the voices of the persons on whom we have made that impact. And so you will, I hope, indulge me if I share with you a few testimonials from the persons who have had the benefit of studying with the Open Campus. Meet Esther Ward, one of our students in Anguilla. Esther is also our top athlete. And as our chair said, we have the future of sports bringing our people together. And I met Esther for the first time face-to-face last year when she came, and I think she participated in every single event that she could. But Esther is a student in our BSc entrepreneurship program, one of our new programs. And I think she says it much better than I do.
My name is Esther White, and I started UWI in 2015. I'm currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Management Studies, majoring in entrepreneurship. It's been quite a memorable experience thus far. In a good way, in a very good way. The beauty of it is that we're able to learn and elevate or learn from each other's shared experiences, because we're more than students. We're businessmen and women. We're nurses and teachers. We're entrepreneurs. Today, when someone asks, why Orange? Or why UWI? Just tell them, because it's the best. Well, I believe it to be the best campus in the University of the West Indies. You kind of get the best of both worlds. You get to study while you still get to pursue your dreams and goals. It's not easy. It's not always easy. But if you're up for the challenge, it's there. We're not anchored to a room. We're not anchored to four walls. We're not anchored to a classroom. We learn on the go as we go, wherever we go. And that's the beauty of it. Have a wonderful day. And I wish you all the best this semester.
And that is Esther. So she said it, not me. I wish to also highlight for the council the tremendous work that is being done throughout our campus in providing high-quality continuing and professional education programs. We know that as the education landscape changes, these programs are tremendously important, not only as creating a pipeline for students to enter into formal education, but also because we are now in a dynamic economy, a knowledge economy that requires constant upgrading of skills and constant lifelong learning. We are very proud of the fact, and I'm sure that our council may not be aware, that every year we touch over 9,000. Last year, 9,685 persons across the region in a variety of short programs, workshops, seminars, all of which are aligned to the economies in which they work or they serve. Last year, I indicated that our continuing and professional education programs are very key to launching enterprises in our region. And once again, I beg for your indulgence so that I don't have to say it, but that you hear it from another one of our students who has studied with us in St. Lucia in a continuing education program, and she will tell you her story. Listen very carefully.
The Peanut series is about an 8-year-old girl, St. Lucian girl, Caribbean girl, and her adventures and the lessons that come out of her adventures. Presently, there are 67 in the set, which are all available online. I'm always working on a new story, but at the moment, there are 67 in the set. I was taking part in a creative writing course hosted by UWI Open Campus and sponsored by the Canadian government. And the class assignment was to write a story. And as a result of that class assignment, I wrote the first of the story, which was called Peanut and the Storm, which was about preparing for a hurricane and what the family did to prepare for a hurricane.
So here we have Dawn French, who sat in one of our courses, wrote an assignment, and it has become a career. It has become a revenue generator, 67. So I'm not publicizing it, but Maybe go online and see, 67 books. But again, the creative industries. In order to be able to offer this kind of new world to our region, this has required tremendous effort and tremendous investment in our technological platform. And I want to here thank our Chief Information Officer of the Computing and Technology Services of the Open Campus, Mr. Tommy Chen, for leading a tremendous team that has done immense work across the region in ensuring that we're able to have a robust platform that can support and can grow in the future. And I will share with you a few of the things that we've done in the last year. We've invested in a brand new ERP system and an electronic document records management system. We've introduced new student and staff portals. Our classrooms have been enhanced with Wi-Fi, multimedia, computers, video conferencing, allowing for our students to access programs in multiple ways. Significantly, we've reduced what was a huge risk of our data security by creating our primary data center in Miami with a secondary backup in Trinidad and Tobago. And so even when the storms approach, we have a plan. I want to thank the IT unit for that. And we have introduced network and telecommunications infrastructure across 16 countries utilizing VoIP telephony. So now we can talk to each other without worrying about the bills. And it has actually reduced our costs because we're able to interact with our colleagues across the region with no issues at all. Just some visuals to show you our new computer labs in Belize, Dominica, Nevis, and St. Vincent. An idea of how the data centers work in Miami. The primary data center is then backed up in the secondary data center in Trinidad. And our new user-friendly student and staff portal, and we've gotten extraordinarily good feedback from our students and others who've used the portal. And our VoIP telephony. So through these innovations, through these technologies, we have been able to enable our communication at a reasonable cost and also in order to improve the services that we offer to our students, who are, of course, at the center of what we do. So once again, what has the impact been? I move to the financial impact. From this, you will see that the Open Campus, through its growth in programs, now contributes through tuition fees alone more than 56% of its budget. Through our special projects, another 5%, and the rest are the government contributions. So the Open Campus has been true to its mandate to seek self-sustainability as much as possible, even within this environment. And we have succeeded in terms of our tuition fees. Every year we are seeing more students. We have not raised fees, right, Guild, for quite a while, so it has to be through volume that we're seeing our fees go up and therefore becoming a bigger part of our pie. Unfortunately, we know, however, that we do still have a gap because despite our government's willingness to contribute, as you can see in the gray, in terms of the budget that has been approved each year, there has been over our 10-year history a significant gap in what has been received. And I know that we are working this through with our governments now and that the future is bright. But that gap has been problematic for the functioning of the University of the West Indies Open Campus. And I don't want to in any way, not highlight that because that has had an impact on our maintenance of sites and in fact on our ability in some cases to be able to respond to our staff needs. However, you can see the trend of our tuition generally on the rise. Yes, a small drop here, but generally on the rise. And so we are very, very proud of the impact that our expansion and our growth has had on our sustainability. That was what we were asked to do in 2008, and that is what we have been faithful to over the last 10 years. I pause, however, to speak of another impact, an impact that has been gut-wrenching. Our chair spoke to it, our Governor General and the people of Antigua and Barbuda, the people of Anguilla, the people of Dominica, and the people of the British Virgin Islands lived it. And the Open Campus lived it because we are there as well. We didn't only see it on the television. We had students, we have staff in these countries, and the impact has been tremendous. The pictures speak for themselves, but I will tell you what the actual impacts are so far. We are still totting it up. We saw that our growth path for students, our student numbers was halted, because if you recall my slide on numbers, you will note that many of the countries that have grown tremendously were the countries that were impacted: Dominica, Anguilla, Tortola. And we had other countries impacted, even though they may not have been destroyed, where we had students, for example, the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, as well as students in St. Martin, as we have many students who live in St. Martin studying with us. So our revenue loss is high, still estimating around $6 million US for this academic year. We recognize that we can repair our site that was totally destroyed in Dominica at about 1.8 to 2 million US, but the site really needs to be reconstructed. And the resilience of our sites is one of the areas that we have to really look at, because reconstruction means building better. And if we accept that the storms are the new norm, then we have to build back better. However, when I went to Dominica a couple of weeks, Dr. Severin met me at the ferry station and drove me through. It was quite a sight. And when I arrived at the site, the sign was on the ground. But the very, very devoted, the very, very committed, the very resilient people of Dominica picked up that sign. And they raised the sign that Sunday evening. I bet you don't recognize Dr. Severin, but he's there. He's in that picture, not wearing a tie. But probably you'll understand that he keeps his orange on all the time. And this is the resilience of the University of the West Indies. And we have become very involved in the forefront of creating an awareness of the need for our region and our university to become resilient. A very quick update for Council. Tortola, our online students are back, but our site is still not fully operational in terms of our face-to-face students. It is currently on loan to the H. Laverty Stout Community College, which was tremendously affected and required some assistance in classroom space. And so we have made that available since our site did not have that kind of damage. Anguilla is fully operational, and I pause here to thank our manager of the British Overseas Territories, Dr. Phyllis Fleming Banks, because she has, and her team, ensured that that site has been back up, as well as her other sites that were affected, Tortola. And I want to really thank her for her resilience and her leadership. Dominica, we were able to temporarily patch some of the buildings to allow for a safe and dry place, when it doesn't rain, that is, for our students to come. We were able to get our electricity back and our internet back. And so the site provides what we were always meant to be, an oasis, a place where our students who still do not have electricity in their homes or internet are able to continue with their education. And so in semester 2, about 50% of our students are back, but we are still not up to capacity. We are now gearing up to reopen our CPE courses. We have no equipment, all the equipment having been either destroyed or borrowed permanently by persons who we are not sure when they're returning it. But we know that with the resilience and the leadership of Dr. Francis Severin, himself Dominican and director of Open Campus Country Sites, and the head of site there, Ms. Kimon Joseph, that Dominica will be back, not only better, but stronger. As I move to giving way to my colleagues to tell you what the real work has been of the campus, I want to pause to salute our students. It was our students at the Open Camp who represented the Open Campus at the Student Games that made me realize what the Open Campus meant, not just on paper, not just when we sit around tables and discuss plans and projects, but what it meant to the heart, as I believe our chair pointed out, that what it meant to the heart of the region, when we were able to bring together, through the hard work of our guild, our postgraduate students, and our team, bring together over 100, close to 100 students from 12 countries across the region to play together in teams that were coached online and who may have met each other for the first time on the field of battle against Cave Hill or Mona or St. Augustine. And we may not have won, but we certainly did not lose, because the spirit of that team, the sheer embrace of each other as a regional family was the winning team. Sorry, Principal Barito. Sorry, Principal McDonald. We still feel we won because we had the greatest spirit. So I want to salute our students for making the Open Campus what it has become over the last 10 years. I want to salute our staff. The staff of the Open Campus are found in 16 countries. Once again, we meet mostly virtually. Occasionally, we're able to come together. But I think that the Open Campus has staff who are committed. I know that we do. Who are committed, who work extraordinarily hard, who focus on our students. And these are some of the faces of our staff who most recently won the Principal's Awards for Excellence, our course development department, headed by, at the time, by Dr. Denise Gaspard Richards, Ms. Janella Samuel from our Dominica site, and our Student Games Planning Committee. I want to salute our graduates, because it is in the eating that we prove the taste of the pudding. And our graduates have been going out to the world and showing the excellence that the University of the West Indies and through the Open Campus that they embody. In the last academic year, the last graduation ceremony, which took place in Grenada, we graduated over 600 students. And as you can see from the smiling faces, everyone was extraordinarily pleased. And I want to salute our alumni. The alumni over the last year have become extremely active. And I want to thank our newly appointed alumni officer, Mrs. Sandra Griffith Carrington, for really working with Mrs. Celia Davidson Francis in the Central Director of Alumni Affairs to get the alumni chapters up and running. And we have seen several chapters being formed in the last year, and alumni becoming very involved and proactive in the work, in the day-to-day work and development of the Open Campus. So I want to recognize again Mrs. Ruth Lynn Matthias, who is the alumni president for Antigua and Barbuda, and to indicate that on the screen we have the alumni chapter in St. Lucia that was only just last week named as the most active chapter in the alumni entire constellation, including all of our very active chapters in North America. So we want to really thank the St. Lucia alumni for their activism. And now I will pause to invite my colleagues up to tell you some more in more detail. Vice Chancellor, I know you hunger to hear some more about what we are doing in our research. And it will follow in this order. Professor Julie Meeks, our Deputy Principal, and then Mrs. LeQuay will come in on Zoom, our campus librarian, and then we come back to the studio for Dr. Gaspard Richards, Mr. Williams, and Dr. Severin. So I will pause here and invite Professor Meeks to the podium.
Thank you very much, Principal. Good morning to everyone here with us and everyone online. And please allow me to acknowledge the protocols already observed and jump right in. Nope. So I'm going to present some highlights of some of the areas that fall under the Deputy Principal's portfolio. Vice Chancellor, one of these will not be the research, which will be covered by the Director of the Consortium for Social Development and Research. And I'd also just like to point out that we have, as the academic representative, the head of the Caribbean Child Development Center with us, Mrs. Cecile Minot. So she would also be able to contribute to that discussion on our ongoing research. So one of the areas is the reestablishment of a research ethics committee for the Open Campus. The Open Campus did have an ethics committee in our early days. However, we had very few research proposals coming forward, and this committee was disbanded in about 2012, research projects for review being sent to the older campuses' ethics committees. However, as we are anticipating many more research proposals to come forward from our doctoral students' research projects, as well as faculty, as we are pushing a drive to have greater faculty research efforts underway, we felt it important for Open Campus to have our own ethics committee. So the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Graduate Studies and Research appointed the committee with the principal's advice, and I have listed the members and their respective institutions here just to show the range of departments and campuses across UWI, as well as the other institutions which have been brought in. So we have from the Tropical Medicine Research Institute, now CARE, from the Department of Sociology, Psychology, and Social Work at Mona, from St. George's University in Grenada, the Legal Unit of UWI, the University Hospital, the Office of the Principal, the Faculty of Education from UTech, and the Faculty of Law at Mona. As campus coordinator for Graduate Studies and Research, I served as the acting chair at the start, but since this academic year, Dr. Emily Dickford from the Office of the Principal has been appointed as chairman of our Open Campus Research Ethics Committee. Second, and the principal mentioned this, Enterprise Resource Planning Unit, which was established. You heard that our STEC, Strengthening Distance Education project, one major component of the project was the Enterprise Resource Planning sub-project, which aimed to integrate many of our processes in order to better manage and align them. Following this, some of these areas were in student enrollment, admissions, and student records, finance and purchasing, and some aspects of our human resource management. Following the successful implementation, we established a unit to continue this work. And a new head did join us in August 2017, Mr. Sunil Lakan. And those members of staff who were assigned to the project ERP have now been assigned to continue under the ERP unit. So this comprises functional analysts and business analysts. Very important part of the work of Open Campus. All right. We also have to continue to consider our quality, PVC Copley. So we had, during that academic year, a successful midterm review for our accreditation from the Barbados Accreditation Council. Our accreditation was for 6 years, so in our third year we did this review, which was very successful. The review committee was very pleased with the progress the Open Campus had made since accreditation and with the plans and directions we were headed in for the remainder of the accreditation period. The accreditation will expire in 2019, so we have already started our re-accreditation activities. We also had a number of successful program reviews to make sure that our offerings continue to be of excellent standard, including the first review of a postgraduate program that was the MACE, the Masters in Adult and Continuing Education. We appointed external examiners for postgraduate examinations for the first time, and a quality assurance policy for online and multimode programs was developed and approved. I'm going to hand over now to Mrs. Karen Lequai.
On our libraries and information services, which really started when the Open Campus started. And I just reflect on the fact that I was the only member of Open Campus Library and Information Services when we started in 2008. And thus far, we are now, I like to say 8.5, because we have 7 full-time members and 3 who are part-time. Librarians, at least. We also have about 10 library assistants in Trinidad and Tobago. One of the things that we do note, however, is that there's no way that we can offer anything but an equivalent service for libraries to our Open Campus students and staff. And this has become quite a challenge to fulfill. But we have done our part bit by bit, and we're hoping now that everything is in concerning our enterprise systems, the registrar systems, the finance and the IT platform. We're hoping that we can now start takeoff in the things that we need to do to fulfill our purposes. So the principal would have drawn attention to the fact that we are opening doors to lifelong learning. And libraries have always been about lifelong learning. I've just put a quick definition there for you, but to see that we operate from
the very beginning to the very end of life. We always have. But what I want to focus on is really bringing a sense of what libraries and librarians do. It seems to me sometimes when I talk to people that libraries and librarians are a bit like a magic box. We wave a wand and things happen. But that is not quite the fact. And so I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we actually do. I mean, we still have people who say librarians check books in and out, but this is not quite it. One of the major things we do is acquire and access the information resources to support our programs and to support our research, our teaching, and to encourage learning. This is one of our big challenges at the moment because these things cost money and we have not had a lot of it in the Open Campus. And budgeting for these resources have become quite a trial. But it is an important part of what a library is supposed to produce. Second thing that we do as librarians is that we try to encourage information literacy and fluency. And this has become big news now as we hear about fake news and what we in the library field like to call misinformation. Information literacy and information fluency is about understanding the valid sources of information and data that we can use in our learning and in our research and in our teaching. So these are skills that we hope to impart, at least hopefully one day in a credit course in the university for our students. And I've been speaking to the students and they recognize that it's not just about manipulating databases. Information literacy has an intellectual component. The other thing that we do, and we continue to do it, we provide reference services. Only, in fact, we now provide virtual reference services in the Open Campus. That is across our digital platform. And so we now have the ability to, not 24 hours yet, but we do have the ability to take questions and we have chats with our students with problems they may be having, not just in accessing information, but even understanding some of the information and the text and the print that they use and how to look for information. The other thing that libraries and librarians do is the third space. That's what it's now known as, study and collaborative spaces. And some of you students would know very well, past students and present, study, sleeping, and collaborative spaces. This has always been what libraries do. And you think, well, we are doing open and flexible learning. How can we do this? But the issue is not that we do either or. We don't do physical or digital. We have to do both. And so when we are looking at how we build these services in the Open Campus, we have to include physical third space study and collaborative spaces for our students. This is where we have fallen down pretty badly. But there has always been a strategy which we really have not engaged with to get the governments of the countries to join with the university in providing joint library spaces that not only their communities, their public communities could use, but also the students studying higher education at the University of the West Indies. And then the final thing I have there, just 4 things I've picked out. There are many more things that we do, but this last one is so critical because it's something that people do not see, that we must fully engage with our students as librarians and as all the services we provide in the libraries. And what we do is we do keep them from dropping out. You know, we don't need to even say, well, no, you don't. Yes, we do, because we deal directly with our student. And so from a student retention point of view, we are critical to that retention of students. And also in persistent graduation, the services we offer will make them successful students. And I just wanted to, just to gently remind us that this is the function of a library in a higher education institution, in addition to the fact that we preserve resources, in addition to the fact that we deal with scholarly communications, our research resources and stuff. This is just one little drop in the bucket. I'm allowed to bring here today. The other thing is the accreditation. This is also so critical because whereas you find that accreditors do not visit libraries, they can at any time. And in the case of St. Augustine campus, they visited the libraries and spent several days interacting with the libraries, the librarians, and the resources available to them. And so we have to demonstrate, right? We must demonstrate that we have the ability to have the resources available for scholarship and research. So basically, I want to use a phrase, I'm coming to an end, a phrase about us having an environment of intentional learning. I wish I had coined it myself, but I borrowed it from Drexel University in the United States. And we must have, as I said before, both physical spaces and virtual and online spaces. The physical spaces that you see there are not ours. It's what we would hope at least to establish. And as I said again, we can do this jointly with the governments of our stakeholder countries. We need physical spaces. At the moment, we have our virtual online spaces, and all those that you see there are representing what we now offer virtually and online. UWeLink, which is our portal to our e-resources, Ask a Librarian, which is our virtual reference services, which is on the platform Question Point, and we do webinars all the time for our students, groups of them, highlighting certain things like plagiarism and so forth. But we are doing these things, but we must do them more and more, and the resources are needed. As I said, it's just 8.5 of us librarians who are carrying out the function for over 5,000 Senate-approved courses, and then the 9,000, as the principal talked about, of continuing and professional education courses. And the last thing I'd like to leave you with is the whole, where libraries are going or have gone already into this thing called maker spaces. A lot of libraries, academic libraries included, are now reserving space within their libraries where this kind of new knowledge, hands-on, self-directed learning can take place. And I think it's something that we can do, again, looking at our whole joint use strategy with national governments as they build their national libraries. And I know national libraries are not things that we have in the Caribbean. Very few of our stakeholder countries have them. I would single out St. Vincent among our stakeholder countries who do have these resources available. And we'd want to join with them as a university to ensure that they cover the entire community. And so finally, I just leave you with those two pictures of makerspaces. These are within academic libraries in metropolitan countries. And what I said they do, they encourage the student to come apart from their semesters and their preferred courses and programs and just come apart and tinker and use the resources, whether they be 3D printers or whatever. They get experts in to talk things with them, just their own ideas that they want to run through. So it's an innovation space as well. And we hope that in the future, we'll be able to build these with our national governments. So I'd like to thank you very much for your time and wish you a good meeting.
Thank you, Campus Librarian. Pleasant good morning to everyone, all protocols observed, and I would also like to extend a special welcome to the audience online. I want to start this morning by looking at the APAD mission, really to set a context, the Academic Programming and Delivery Division, and I'm highlighting some keywords: creation and delivery of high-quality online teaching and learning experiences, research, and inclusive developmental needs of the individuals in our societies. How are we doing? How are we achieving this? I would now like to present to you some highlights of our achievements in academic year 2016-2017. We have new programs, and I especially want to highlight the Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies program. We heard earlier about the first doctoral program, and we reported on that for the last period, 2015-2016. In the new academic year that we are presenting on here, 2016-2017, we are coming again with another doctoral program that is a laddered program, so it starts with a postgraduate diploma, Masters in Education and then the EdD. Now, this one is particularly exciting and important because it is really aimed at preparing teachers for online work. And I'm not only talking here about teachers in our traditional classroom here, I am talking specifically about what is happening online. So this program is going to benefit our teaching staff, and it is also available throughout the region for anyone, and internationally for anyone who wants to get engaged with teaching and learning using emerging technologies. One of our other highlights here is our tremendous effort at developing online courses, and we are very thankful for the ESTEC project funded by the Canadian government. And you will see here that we have added to the list of new and revised online courses 134 in that particular academic year. So these are additional courses. In terms of our program delivery, we have really and truly put our efforts into ensuring that our facilitators, these are the people who teach in our online programs, that they are prepared to do so. And you will see that we have offered professional development training for them, and we've had very high rates of completion in these training activities. We have also been able to deliver an additional 60 courses coming out, new courses coming out of the GAC ESTEC project. Our staff, what have we been doing in terms of professional development for our staff in APAD and our outreach activities? We have really been engaged in action research, and while quite a lot of what we do is highly administrative within APAD, and we are really kept on our toes, our student rep will tell you this, we are totally engaged. We also have taken the opportunity to engage in action research that are related, the areas are related to our work, to improving our practice, to looking at how we can feed back into what we are doing. So you'll see there are a number of areas there. We look at universal instructional design strategies, agile learning design, engaging with our faculty through authentic training experiences, and that is very critical to what we do in the online environment. We've also been able to get at least one publication in by a member of our staff, and we have a research forum that it really took off in the academic year that we are in at present, but we have been able to have a number of monthly presentations, so ongoing staff research, and we have added graduate student research, particularly for the EdD and some of our master's programs where our students are producing lots of innovative work, and we want to highlight it. And we have this research forum which takes place online, so it's online presentations. We've also had professional development activities of our full-time staff, so there's been opportunity for internal training because supervisory management is very critical in our environment. We work in the online environment, and the persons that we interact with are not able to see us in the present moment. So it's very important that we have an understanding of strategies that we can use, particularly to work virtually. We have also had staff engage in external training, and of course, our focus has been on the areas of our work, so instructional design, and we have looked at areas of online education. Our outreach strategy, we have been able to work with our university partners. So this committee that I've mentioned here and the outreach is a university committee. So we are engaging at all levels with our sister campuses. We've also been engaged in program reviews and special projects, and you would have heard Deputy Principal refer to the external review of our first postgraduate program, which is the Masters in Adult and Continuing Education. And we have also recognized, as is our desire to continue to do, that we need to continuously review what we do. And in our EdD, our first doctoral program, we have taken the opportunity during that academic year to engage in some internal review of our research courses. Our first group of students that we are delivering to, we are already looking at how we can improve. So we have done some work there, and we have made some changes. External partnerships, we continue to work with our business development unit in particular, and one of these courses that I want to really highlight is the World Bank SEMCA project, because this particular project looked at the public sector and providing that opportunity for them to understand basic concepts as they go through their activities and their work throughout the region. And this has international reach. And we were very proud of this particular project because it was actually for the first time that we designed and delivered an interactive course that was self-facilitated. So the students, they didn't have much of the hand-holding that our current online students do. We found that this actually is a great initiative, and we were very happy to work with the World Bank SEMCA project to realize this. We have also worked on a OS Cultural Heritage project where we were able to prepare 2 graduate level courses, and these courses were offered throughout the region, and the feedback has been quite good. Our external partnerships, we were able largely to work with 2 college level institutions in Jamaica, and again focus on our particular areas, online course development and transition into online teaching. And last but not least, we focus quite a lot on improving the processes for our employee engagement, because we recognize that while we have a number of facilitators who are teaching in the online environment and they may not, at the end of it, yes, they have done a job and they go away, we really want to provide a way to reward them. So in our training, we looked at what was happening with universities worldwide, and we introduced digital badging. If you're familiar with this, you know that you can have badges of excellence, and we have introduced that for the work that they're doing, and virtual training certificates. We are an online environment, an online institution, so the virtual training certificates have really worked in our favor, and our participants have been rewarded for the work that they have done. I want to thank you and to hand over to Mr. Williams.
Thank you and good morning, colleagues. Let me also accept that our protocols have been duly acknowledged, and welcome to our viewers online. For new members of Council, just to share with you the origins of the consortium. The consortium was formed in 2008 from the 5 specialist units within the School of Continuing Studies. And we see ourselves in the consortium as being the outreach and the research arm of the Open Campus. The units comprising the consortium, starting from left, we have the Caribbean Child Development Center, which we spoke about this morning. The Hugh Lawson Shearer Trade Union Education Institute, which is based in Jamaica. The Social Welfare Training Center, based in Jamaica as well. And we have the Women and Development Unit, which is based in Barbados. We also have the Human Resource Development Unit, which has been dormant for some time, and we really do hope to get that up and running pretty soon. Just to share with you only a very small example of some of the work taking place within the consortium. And I'd like to, all of our work, we try to see if we can implement the objectives and the mission of the university under the various strategic plan. Access, one of the things we pride ourselves on within the consortium is that we provide courses and workshops and so forth, which go out and seek to bring people in to the Open Campus who may not have the formal qualifications to go straight onto a degree course, and we try to take them from where they are to where they can get themselves to going on to pursue their undergraduate studies. As the Vice-Chancellor noted earlier on, we do tend to be out in the field doing community work, doing the outreach work, and that keeps us in touch with our stakeholders, and therefore we try to ensure that the courses, the workshops, and the programs that we put on within the consortium match the needs of our stakeholders. And we try to do that in a timely manner. Now, just to share with you an example of some of the work taking place again in CCDC. And in fact, I've got there Jamaica and Trinidad, but in fact, the schools that we're trying to develop around the whole issue of early childhood education, we're trying to develop some lab schools where we can actually develop excellence in early childhood education. And they would also provide the sites where we can train early childhood teachers, where our students can have the opportunity to undertake their research. And we're trying to do that in Jamaica, in Trinidad, and Cecile, if I'm correct, in Antigua as well. We actually have a center in Antigua as well that we're trying to develop. And we're currently building those and hoping that those will be coming on stream fairly soon. Just to save time, in terms of the Hugh Lawson Trade Union Education Institute, one of the workshops that they did last year was a workshop which brought together 28 trade union leaders from 14 territories across the Caribbean. And as the VC has pointed out, one of our missions within the Open University is to actually lay the foundation for economic development. And we can think of no better place for us to do some work amongst the employers within the region and the Trade Union Congress, try to get them around to see areas where they can agree together so they can not necessarily have to fight each other. But let's get some areas where we can agree, where we can move forward. And the Trade Union Education Institute has been doing just that. And they've also developed a couple of policy papers, helped the trade union and the employers to develop some common policies on minimum wage and occupational health and safety. In terms of the Social Welfare Training Center, one of the things that we noted last year was the real need to develop the expertise and the skills of people working in communities. And we undertook a very systematic consultation with our stakeholders, and we managed to put together, with the support of the GAC funding, to devise a community development course where we had 100 paraprofessionals coming on that course from 14 different organizations within Jamaica to develop that program. And I'm pleased to say that was successfully piloted. We're now offering that, and we're hoping to develop that course which can be delivered throughout the region, not just in Jamaica, but to support and build the human capital and the resilience within our communities. In terms of Barbados, the Women in Development Unit, again using funds from the SDEC project, developed a number of courses which they delivered across the region in those areas, and which were really excellent, particularly the women in entrepreneurial and society, again, in terms of trying to get the region moving and trying to help women to establish themselves in that area. Now, one of the areas the Vice-Chancellor spoke to about, unfortunately, the slide which actually detailed the research that we managed to undertake last year happened to have got left out in the pruning. I can't understand why, and it just seemed like the VC would have picked on that one, and that's the one that's been left out. But VC, if it was there, you'll see that each of the units are doing a really good job in terms of their publication and research. You will note that the Jamaica government over the last 2 years wanted to introduce a program to bridge that gap between the school leaving age up to 18, and they introduced the CAP and the NYS program, and it was us they came to undertake the research, to do the evaluation so that they know what they should spend their over $1 billion on. Similarly, in terms of the CCDC transition project and the number of, and the millions, Cecile, that you got from the USAID to run that project, it's because precisely of our track record in terms of doing excellent applied research that they came to us and asked us to do those projects. In terms of the social work profession, for the last 10 years, the consortium has been delivering the Caribbean Journal of Social Work, And in fact, 2 years ago, it was voted the best academic journal in the region. And that's where we're helping to do our bit in terms of the research. But the VC is right. Because we tend to be out there in the field. We do tend to get our heads down sometime when you're playing football, you know, those players who keep their head down and they don't see the bigger game. We do get caught up in the work in the field. But indeed, I was having a conversation with the deputy principal, in fact, in the airport lounge, and we recognize exactly what the VC spoke about, that there may be other organizations who could do the work that CCDC is doing in terms of the Transitional Living Project. But the value that we bring to that project is precisely of the research that we can take, we can develop, and so that we can apply that not only in situ, but across the region. Just to finish off, to say in terms of, before I get to Dr. Francis, just to say within the the Women in Development Unit, we've just appointed a new head, has just taken over that post. Ms. Taitu Heron has taken over that work. And we have begun consultation with PVC Weber with a view to integrating WAND into the bigger family of IGS. So we're looking forward to that development and being part of that bigger project. Thank you very much indeed. I'll now hand you over to Dr. Francis.
Thank you very much. And let me offer colleagues in this august body my own warm special welcome to Governor General Sir Rodney Williams and his wife, and also our new chair. And as my colleague has said, in terms of background, and background is very important for the open campus countrysides, given its sprawling, if you will, real estate. And I use that word metaphorically and physically speaking. But the open campus countrysides consist or comprise of 2 deputy directors, one commercial operations and another who we have the pleasure of having with us today, the acting deputy director, continuing and professional education, 16 heads, country managers, manager, administrative officer, 3 officers in the Enterprise Resource Planning Unit of the Open Campus Countrysides, including 2 subject matter experts and enterprise application analysts, and a few hundreds employees. So Chair, it is, I'm always, in a sense, caught between and perhaps a little agitated by the need to represent my constituents all around, as well as to keep to time. So you will indulge me a bit, even as I try to race this along. The slide here speaks to a number of MOUs, and I have to say that one of our main sites, which really signed some very important MOUs, is the Belize site. For instance, a 4-year memorandum of understanding was entered into with the Belize Chamber of Commerce to provide capacity building to the private sector. And this would involve training of employees within the private sector. And that is just one of the several examples. And under the leadership of our deputy director, CPE, we have moved apace in terms of our CPE programming. You will hear a little later on a proposal which is on the agenda, and you will get some background as to where we're going with that. Because given the success of that initiative, we have now come to the conclusion that we really have to spread and make it endemic within the open campus, and indeed within the university. And this principal spoke to some of that already. And in fact, I want to actually make the point, referring to the principal's slide on Dominica in particular when she spoke about the CPE. And I'm very happy to say to you and to this August body and to the region that in semester 2, Dominica, which was so badly decimated by the Hurricane Maria, actually can say very proudly that 120 students are enrolled in 4 courses, CP, face-to-face courses in project management, supervisory management, advanced HR, fundamentals of local government essentials, which that site also wrote to be used by the entire open campus. So, you know, it shows, and if you ever wanted an example of resilience, that is one of the illustrations that I would point out. A number of, you know, fundraising initiatives. Thank you very much. A number of fundraising initiatives have been mounted throughout the open campus countrysides. And again, I invite you to read the very detailed departmental reports, which can sort of help you in terms of getting a flavor and a sensibility of all of that. So I won't detain us on these. Again, in terms of employee engagement, we recognize within the open campus countrysides that it is absolutely important to, in motivating your employees, to get them to be able to do their jobs well. And indeed, if ever there was a time that was important, it is now within the unfurling of the enterprise resource planning system. And what we did during that banner implementation period was to actually have, in the 2016-17 academic year, a transition team, which in a sense guided us and shepherded us through the process. And part of the responsibility of that team was to review the business processes, documents, admissions, general student registration, etc., clarify definitions of tasks, of roles, as identified in business process documents, determine the current human resources of each site, match personnel with required implementation tasks, and document any skills of training that was needed. And from that, and a major recommendation coming out of that ERP transitional team, which shepherded us through this very complex process, was that the open campus countrysides absolutely needed its own, so to speak, which would work very closely with the fundamental ERP team. But it was important in order to make sites feel empowered, but also that they would be, in a sense, their own needs would be taken care of in a very specific and manner. We set up an open campus countrysides ERP unit, and part of its remit was to support the implementation of the open campus business process, to conduct live demos and presentations on banner use, to design and implement training and development material, to review data entry by site staff, to troubleshoot issues re-banner, and to make recommendations re-CPE policy, compliance, and other relevant matters. So that team works very, very closely and intimately with the sites and the matters that arise in terms of training, where gaps are located and so on. They are brought up and recommendations are made. One would understand that the sites are where the rubber meets the road, and to some extent the Achilles heels of everything. And if these are not taken care of in terms of the processes that take place, then a lot of damage or violence can be done, so to speak. So we have insisted that we take care of those particular needs. Again, this gives a bit of statistics, and the principal actually spoke to some of these matters, and so, again, I don't think I need to detain you, you know, in view of time on these matters. But I have to say again and commend our hardworking team of the Deputy Director, CPE, as well as the program officers and the sites with whom that Deputy Director's office works very closely with in implementing this very important program that we are very grateful for. That is the GAC funded program. Again, if you go to the departmental reports, you will see, and the annual report, you will see a very long list of the activities, country conferences, seminars, workshops, distinguished lectures. And it's not only reading the list, but the topics that are handled. And in reading these topics, you can see the impact that this would have had on the region. But what I want to end with and get very quickly to is this. Yes, I think Dr. Lennox Onichich can make out himself here, very distinguished gentleman, I think sitting in the middle. And Principal, I do wear red sometimes. And I thought it was tragic to even cover this with under a bushel, so to speak. But I highlight these because I think it is very important. On 22nd March, Thursday, March 22nd, the Open Campus Dominica held a recognition of graduates ceremony. I mean, when you saw the picture of the decimation and tragedy that the principal had pointed to, it was unimaginable to sort of, you know, build an image of that happy scene taking place in just a few months' time. And I have to tell you that, you know, it brought into sharp perspective, as far as I'm concerned, the importance of those local recognition ceremonies. Why? Because all of these graduates here were able, in spite of not having been able to go to or because they were not able to go to the ceremony in Grenada, they were able to attend before their own family, friends, extended family, this. And I think it is wonderful. And in fact, I want to commend the government of Dominica, because among the graduates were the MSc Management and Educational Leadership. 24 started, well supported by the government of Dominica. 25 actually, 24 completed, and there were 14 distinctions. And I think this is a very, it's a wonderful success story. But I also, as Director Ox, I cannot limit myself to Dominica. I need to pay special tribute to Dr. Phyllis Fleming Banks, who accompanied a contingent of Anguillan graduates to the Grenada graduation ceremony, the main graduation ceremony. And that was something. And she expressed her warm thanks, a special thanks, sometimes emotionally, to you know, even the merchants in Grenada, who, when they learned that these graduates were from Anguilla, they offered discounts. There's a student at the airport who, on departure, someone wanted to offer them water to take. And these are the kinds of you know, good works that we have seen displayed. And the hurricane has really brought out, I think, the best in us. And we saw it in the Open Campus. I really, and Principal, sorry, I really need to commend my colleague, Dr. Veronica Simon, who really, in St. Lucia, I mean, St. Lucia really was there for us, among others, but it was really, I mean, amazing when Dr. Simon sent down 2 of her staff to help. Some of the people you saw raising or hoisting the banner, Anson Paul, Miguel Felix, from the St. Lucia site. And I mean, they were really with us. And in fact, I can now say that one of my physical offices located in Castries at Mont Fortune. So it has been in a sense, in spite of the tragedy, we have felt the love, we have seen the love, and we want, I think, in the live streaming here, we want to take the opportunity of what it afforded us to extend our warm and kind thanks. So thank you very much, colleagues.
I want to thank my colleagues because it is often said that leadership can be a lonely task, but I can assure you that in the Open Campus, with the leadership, such as those that you have seen, I am not at all lonely, and I want to thank them for their support and their leadership throughout this last year. Thank you again for your presentations. Chair, Bob Marley sings, in this bright future, you can't forget your past. And so we have very, very carefully shown our past. And it is so that we can help to create the future. And the future is being created under our new AAA strategy. And so for a few ending moments, I will share just a glimpse into that bright future that we are creating as we move into our AAA strategy. The Open Campus is dedicated to the mission of revitalizing Caribbean development. And we have done 2 excellent new programs, which I would like to encourage our viewership to check out, especially if you are working in the public sector or the NGO sector. An online short course in transformational leadership to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in developing states, and again, an online program in NGO professional management. These are 2 programs that are very important as we address our implementation deficit, it is sometimes called, in the region towards development. A major thrust of the Open Campus in the future, beginning in this academic year to come, 2018-19, is our internationalization of our programs. And we have a very, very innovative division that has been developed by our registrar called the Virtual International Student Office. So it's not quite a visa, it is a viso, but it is to give our students a visa into the Open Campus. This will begin in 2018-19, where we have selected several courses and programs that we will be focusing on as a sort of pilot for our going out to the world. The BSc in Youth Development, the MSc in Instructional Design and Technology, and some courses that you've heard of, the Values-Based Heritage Site Management, but excitingly, a joint course with the Faculty of Humanities and Education at Mona, Dr. Buckner, in the area of the culture of Rastafari, which is something that we know will take the world by storm. We are also working very closely through the SUNY UE Center for Leadership and Sustainable Development in a collaboration with Empire State College. And I have just looked at the final documentation, and I am seeing that we are en route very, very clearly to the Open Campus and Empire State, developing our first dual degree at the master's level in leadership and sustainable development. What that means, of course, is that the graduates of that program will hold two diplomas, one from the UWI and one from the SUNY Empire State College, which will certainly make them extraordinarily competitive. And we have other programs working there. We continue to support global partnerships, working with our PVC Global. And here you see our seminar that looked at the US Caribbean strategic engagement. And we engaged very strategically with the author of the bill, who was coming to us from Belize. And our Belize site was able to actually have him zoom in and participate in that engagement in New York. We're also opening doors through new revenue sources, and I sign MOUs, but these MOUs do not sit on the shelf. They are active MOUs that result in new programs and new revenue sources. And we have some exciting things happening, for example, collaborating with another Canadian-funded project which is executed through the University of the West Indies, the Impact Justice Training Program, where our facilities across the region will be used to train mediators, again assisting in our community development. We have just been successful in a bid to the USAID, collaborating with the Research Triangle Institute of the UK for $400,000 in developing and offering courses in the OECS. And finally, an exciting collaboration with the CARICOM Climate Change Center and the Swedish Energy Agency for development of courses in renewable energy for 4 countries in the Eastern Caribbean. And these courses will be offered through community colleges in 4 countries. So here again, we are collaborating with our colleagues in the sector. Exciting developments, of course, with our Academy of Sport, and you will hear a lot more about that later in the sessions, but this academy is going to be an academy which is a little bit different. You may think, well, how can an open campus have a sports academy? But we will use the Open Campus's platform and its physical facilities to ensure that the sporting wealth, and I mean that in all its permutations, the sporting wealth of this region is spread throughout the region and is retained in our region. And we're very excited about the type of programs that with Dean Mansingh and our colleagues in the other campuses, the Open Campus will be able to facilitate. Someone asked me, what is that picture? That picture is a picture of one of our ceilings post the hurricane. And so we must in the future ensure that our sites are climate resilient. Many of our sites have not had the benefit of much physical upgrade since their formations in the 60s and the 70s, and this is an area of great concern for us in the leadership team and one that we are working on. We must ensure that the university's presence in the region is of excellent standard and is resilient so that it can continue to be a place, in a way, of refuge for our people during times of disaster. Within the strategic initiatives, we have chosen 5 strategic initiatives, and we have limited ourselves because we know that ensuring that you implement a strategic initiative requires a lot of resources. And we have focused on 5 areas. Robust expansion of continuing and professional education, which is going to expand access but also align with the developmental needs of our communities. Strengthening our student support because, yes, our students are the reason we are here and we need to ensure that they're properly supported. We are investing in our people because if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your students too. So we are investing highly in training and engaging our team and establishing centers of excellence, focusing primarily on areas of ICT education and training, as well as training for our security forces. And clearly expanding our online menu, but this time working with our Office of Online Learning and all of our sister campuses to ensure that, again, the wealth of knowledge that is produced within this University of the West Indies over the last 70 years is available to everyone in the region and beyond. Cannot do it alone. This is our leadership team for 2016-17. There are a couple of changes coming next year because some persons have moved on to other pastures. I won't say greener, but other pastures. And but I do want to thank our leadership team for the hard work that they have done in the last academic year and continue to do. But yes, thank you. But I do want to end in a way where I began, which is in the unification of this campus across the region, pulling together 17 countries separated by thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of sea. And this was no more evident than it was at our student games. And I want to give the credit for this ending slide to our Guild of Students who produced this, and Dwayne has left. I know he was very instrumental, our post-grad rep, in producing this, and ask that you listen carefully to the voices of our students.
We cannot be on one island, yet we still function. All of the Caribbean we come from, and singing one song, connected by sweet vibration, but putting in 50 locations, on night, on site, and on demand. Let's shout it out loud. We repping you, we all see, we repping you, we all see, we repping you. We repping, we repping. No one campus is like we. Say we repping you. We all see, we repping you. We all see, we repping you. We all see, we repping. No one campus is like we.
We've built a campus, but we've built a family. I thank you.
On your behalf, I would like to thank the principal and the members of the Open Campus Leadership Team for 2016-2017 for their in-depth and comprehensive and impactful presentations. I now invite the Vice Chancellor to make comments and on the affairs of the Open Campus and the university. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That report was quite extraordinary, and I think we should give the principal another round. It's brilliant, brilliant work indeed. His Excellency Sir Rodney and Madam Excellency, that's new protocol language. Her Excellency Dr. Sumer, our campus chair, Principal Longsworth and Deputy Principal Professor Meeks, Principal Barito of the Cayfield campus, University Registrar Mr. Aiton, Deputy Principals, our Pro-Vice Chancellors, Campus Registrar and Bursa, the President of the Guild of Students, colleagues and friends. Very good morning, everyone. Morning. You know, the reason why we subtitled our strategic plan Revitalizing Caribbean Development is precisely because of an ongoing conversation in some circles that we Caribbean folks are now a fatigued people, that we are tired and we are exhausted. We have struggled so hard to build this regional community and nations out of the rubble of colonial history. And after hundreds of years of struggle, and we've now gotten here and we now need another push, we are tired. And thus the signs of fatigue which have been described. But when you hear presentations such as this, and you see the activity of our faculty, our students in our region, then you come to realize that there is no need for us to embrace those negative commentary upon who we are and what we are doing. We are energized. We continue to be energized. We know what we want, and we are struggling to achieve it. So the struggle continues apace, Your Excellency. Madam Chair, we celebrated her this morning, and she was described by the principal as a historian making history. And this is all very relevant to what we are discussing in this report for the Open Campus, because her doctorate research was on the integration movement and the challenges it faced in the 50s and early 60s. And yes, I remember. I also remember that you were my first female PhD. So I have a memory of the work that you have done in your publications, and the fact is that this is an area of your expertise, building the integrated future for this region. When we 2 weeks ago, when we celebrated the report of Principal Barito at the KFL campus, we had an opportunity to welcome the new head of state, Her Excellency Justice Mason, the second female GG of Barbados, who is, of course, a UWI grad. Then we went to St. Augustine and we welcomed another UWI grad, the first female head of the state, President Her Excellency Weeks. And now we are here in the company of another distinguished university grad, Sir Rodney. And all of this is interlocking beautifully, because while we are looking to the future and reflecting upon the past, I know a little of the past because I remember him as a very good cricketer on the Mona campus. And he was not just a brilliant medic, he was also a brilliant cricketer. And so this faculty of sport is now maybe 30 or 40 years behind schedule. Otherwise, you would have been one of the distinguished performing students in the sporting arena. And the fact is that the objective is to blend academia and sport. We also must express our congratulations to the Prime Minister of this beautiful country on his electoral success. And this is important. And no doubt His Excellency is proud of the fact that as head of state, all those electoral processes were free and fair. And it's an attest to your leadership in governance that we can have high-pitched, passionate elections, enabling the people to express their view of the future. And this is important for us too, because as you know, we are involved in an intricate conversation with the government here in respect of the establishment of the 5th campus of UWI here in Antigua and Barbuda at Five Islands. Isn't that a wonderful coincidence? The 5th campus. The 5th campus to be established in the Five Islands community is when you have your ducks all lined up like that, it must be good fortune and blessings from above. And we've heard this morning about Sir Arthur Lewis, our first Vice Chancellor. And again, we celebrate the fact that he is from, his parents are Antiguans. So Antigua can very well claim Sir Arthur, and here we are, therefore, in his ancestral home. But we are met to celebrate this report, the year in review from Principal Longsworth and her team, and we have every right to congratulate her once again on a detailed and very inspiring report. Now, Principal Longsworth is arguably one of the few leaders in our university whose research training is in leadership in higher education. Many of us have putter and have done our best and have risen up to do what we must for our university and for our country, but she has come through the route of leadership in academia in the Caribbean context as her research field, and therefore we should not be surprised by the fact that she has provided us with a report that reflects her own research and her own academic experience. And we have seen this in recent months in this hurricane season. The Open Campus have every reason under her leadership to be proud, because as our Madam Chair indicated, she was one of the first persons in Barbuda, and our principal was in Dominica. And it was wonderful, certainly for me, to observe the chair in Barbuda, the principal in Dominica, sleeves rolled up, doing what they must. I was comforted by the fact that when I arrived in Barbuda with the Prime Minister of Antigua, I was welcomed by Madam Chair. She was already there, waiting in Barbuda to give me a report on what was going on the island. And that is an indication of the commitment. I call that building honor through action. This is how you build honor. This is how an institution builds its reputation in its community, by being there in difficult times, by being at the center in troubling times. We were expected to be on the ground, and we were. The Open Campus has every reason, Principal, your leadership, Madam Chair, to be proud of how we have built through our actions this culture of care, this culture of caring. I support the theme of your report, opening doors to life-changing experiences. And this is what we are here for, to reach into every household, every community, to reach into every family, to inspire every citizen, to realize that we are here for them to implement their vision and their experience. The number of students has doubled in this decade. And the reason why the number of students in degrees, certificates, and diplomas, the reason why the numbers have doubled is because they have confidence in us. They have confidence in us, they trust us to give them a quality education. Our mandate is to continue to reduce the cost of that education. We want to enhance the quality and simultaneously reduce the cost. But the community is aware that we are dedicated to this purpose. Again, building honor in action and trust through tenacity. The fact is also that the Open Campus has to be the key that will throw open the doors of higher education to the people of this region. One can argue that our landed campuses are fast approaching their maximum capacity in terms of their carrying ability. We are moving towards the creation of an optimum student body in our landed campuses. But the outer parameter of the Open Campus is far beyond the horizon. We know that in this strategic plan, there is no horizon for the Open Campus. We see it as the drone that will deliver the messages all across the world, beyond the Caribbean. It is especially important in the OECS. It is especially important in the OECS community, communities like Antigua and Barbuda, where we are right now. And I like to emphasize this point because we have to continue emphasizing it, that we are in a very dark and difficult place in the OECS in respect of enrollment in higher education. I've said it, UNESCO's data have shown it, that the lowest enrollment in higher and tertiary education in this entire hemisphere, in the age cohort 18 to 30, is here in the OECS. We are at the bottom of the ladder. From Alaska to Argentina, the entire hemisphere of the Americas, we in this community where we are right now, we have the lowest enrollment. And it's troubling precisely because all of the models of economic development that we have available to us have shown that your capacity for economic growth, your capacity for economic transformation is an expression of the number of your people who have had the benefit of skills training, professional development, research, with the capacity to innovate. And therefore, it is not surprising that the sluggishness of economic growth in this subcommunity, the challenges of economic growth, are linked directly to this troubling statistical reality. To some extent, it has to do with our colonial history, where we still continue to believe that a few and the privileged few have a right to higher education, and the masses of people ought to consider themselves lucky to have access. We have to abandon that colonial philosophy. Every citizen has a right. Every citizen has a duty, more importantly, a duty to step up, participate in skills development, professional training, access to tertiary education, because it is the only way we are going to build these economies and societies. The gifts will not come from outside. We will build bridges to the world, but the truth is that all of that transformation must be done by us, and we must prepare ourselves. What Principal Longsworth has shown is that the open campus is ready, it's prepared, and it's already deeply involved in this process. We support wholeheartedly the open campus as our vehicle for the future. This is the one that will bring equity to the region. It will bring justice to the most remote communities. It will bring justice to persons who, as youth, could not participate in higher education and who, as adults, would wish to circle and return to build their own futures and to have that life-changing experience. The Open Campus Report has shown that it has embraced wholeheartedly the AAA strategic plan of the University of the West Indies. It is a champion of access. It's a champion of agility. And it's a champion of alignment. And critically, within the fine print of that plan, there are some other issues. Reputation building. How do we build out the reputation of the entire university through the actions of one campus? The Open Campus has done so much in this last year to build the reputation of the University of the West Indies. And Principal, we thank you for this. We do not take this for granted. I made heavy weather of the fact that in the bad weather, you found yourself in the midst of it. It is not easy to say, my students, their homes are blown apart. They have no books, they have no computers, they're looking for their families, they have no water, they're losing loved ones, there's no transportation, there's no flights in and out, but somehow I will find a way there because that's where I belong. With students, we thank you for going the extra mile. Within the context of the broader university, there are some interesting developments I would wish to report, Madam Chair. One of the greatest challenges facing our institution at this time is our financial volatility. Has a lot to do with the fact that our primary stakeholder, the governments of this region, with a very narrow and diminishing fiscal space, have been unable to meet their obligations to this university in the way that they would wish, in the way that I know they would wish to perform. We continue to develop a philosophy of partnership and of diplomacy. We are all in this together. The student who cannot pay her or his fees is a student who we must embrace. It is not often their own fault. These are challenging times, but we must embrace them. And likewise, the governments that cannot pay their fees, we too must embrace them. We are all in this together. I was pleased that at the recent meeting of the CARICOM heads of government, the Secretary General, with the support of the Prime Ministers, was able to place on the agenda the issue of the financial challenges facing the UWI. And how proud I felt when all of the Prime Ministers in that room all agreed, resolved, and committed to paying off their arrears owed to this university, historically accumulated, to pay off these arrears in the next 2 months. I wish to thank Prime Minister Harris of St. Kitts and Nevis, who is tasked with the responsibility of going from country to country, government to government, to sit with each government to work out the peculiar and unique circumstances in their country and to identify the appropriate mechanism for the discharge of these financial obligations. We're very proud of the fact also that Prime Minister Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago not only called a press conference to say that Trinidad and Tobago will be the first to honor their historic obligations, but we have been informed by the principal of the St. Augustine campus that in the last few days, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago has honored his pledge. We continue to build our global brand through the globalization of this now aging university. At 70, Madam Chair, I probably shouldn't have said Madam Chair, I should have said Your Excellency. At 70, we are now in the age where we have no excuse for not having wisdom. And we are now entering that phase of our journey where wisdom is the primary asset. And so the decision to globalize this institution, to establish centers of UWI on all the continents of the planet, except maybe for Antarctica, is indeed necessary. We are already globally respected. And if we are globally respected as a university, we should have not only our reputation present in all of those places, but we should be physically there as well to give effect to that reputation. And so we have established, as you've heard from Principal Longworth, our center in New York in collaboration with SUNY, the UWI SUNY Institute for Leadership, Center for Leadership and Sustainable Development, already active in that space, already impacting upon the North American diaspora. We have established our facility in Nigeria. There is now the UWI University of Lagos Institute for African History and Culture at the University of Lagos. And we will be in turn establishing the Counter Center at the Mona campus. We have established our center with our colleagues in China and Suzhou at the Global Institute for Software Technology, and we have every reason to celebrate and to be proud of the fact that a month ago we received a letter from the Prime Minister, the Premier of China, indicating to us that we have been granted approval by the government of China to establish the UWI Caribbean University campus in the Nanjing province. This is very important. Working with Jiangsu University, the two universities will jointly establish the UWI Caribbean campus in Jiangsu. These are important developments to take our university around the world. Yesterday, I met on the way here with Pro Vice Chancellor Cobley, who has just returned from Johannesburg, where we have been working through the details of that UWI Joburg Institute for Global African Affairs. And PVC Cobley has assured me, being a brilliant shuttle diplomat he has become, that his colleagues at Joburg are excited, keen, and we're hoping to have this institute established in Joburg by the end of this calendar year. And we will be working towards that objective. And so the UWI is being welcomed all over the world. Colleagues are keen to work with us. They know of our contribution, they know of our reputation, and they wish to be a part of it. The conference, which Professor Cobley, and we mentioned this yesterday, maybe we should have an inaugural conference of the Center for Global African Affairs. We should probably call it the fate of the Pink Panther, the discourse of Africa and its diaspora. Now, wouldn't that make a great conference?
Black Panther, you mean?
The Black Panther, the fate of the Black Panther, the fate of the, what did I say?
Pink.
I said pink. I said Pink Panther. No. I meant the Black Panther. Oh my word. No, the fate of the Black Panther, Africa and its diaspora in conversation. Maybe that would make a wonderful. Professor Buckland, would you like to chair that panel? I can hear you waxing and waning poetically on the literary significance on Africa and its diaspora. But we have a tremendous amount of work to do, and we are making good progress. I wish to thank the University Registrar, Mr. Eitan, for putting together an extraordinary 70th anniversary calendar of events that are at once celebratory, but also reflecting and projecting into the future. We are looking, and I wish to assure University Registrar Eitan that the reason why many of us do study history is not to sit on the balcony and tell stories. Is to identify historical trends and patterns that give us as close an understanding that is humanly possible to understand the future and to plan for it and to see it before it sees us. And especially as Caribbean people, we have to see the future before it sees us because we have had a terrible history. We have had a terrible past, and we're putting it behind us. And therefore, our future, our golden age is in the future. And we will go aggressively towards it. So finally then, it has been a pleasure this year working with Principal Barreto and her team as they work through the second, Principal Longsworth and her team, as they work through the second phase of the Open Campus. This second phase, the phase which will follow upon the establishment of the Office of Online Learning, in which online education will be driven by all 4 of our campuses, but with the expertise and the talent in the Open Campus being used as a guide and as a tool. So Principal, thank you and your colleagues once again. It's a wonderful year of work on behalf of the university, and the Open Campus is much the better for it. So thank you, Madam. Thank you all colleagues. Much appreciated, and all the very best. Thank you.
Let me thank the Vice Chancellor for updating us on the business of the university and for his thought-provoking comments. He continues to inspire us to always do our best to change our region, never forgetting our history. This brings our open session to a close. And in closing, let me encourage you to read the in-depth reports presented by the leadership of the Open Campus. I think that you will find some very interesting information there. I would also like to thank the live stream audience and the media for attending this public session. And I would like to advise that the media conference will follow. But in closing, I thought I would leave you with a little story. I have reached the age where I tell stories. I will leave you with a story that will encourage you to understand the connections created by the Open Campus. The Chancellor of the university said at the graduation ceremony in Trinidad and Tobago about a student from St. Lucia who had received first-class honors and who could not attend the graduation ceremony only for one reason: because she had taken the cost of her ticket to Grenada and sent it to a student in Dominica whom she had met in her classrooms, whose house was destroyed during the hurricane. I remember when the Open Campus was being formed, there was this fear that we would not have that physical connection, and the Open Campus has been able to bridge that. So I encourage our live audience to take advantage of the connections that we are creating through the Open Campus. Thank you very much for your attendance. But before we close the session, His Excellency Sir Rodney would like to say a few words before he leaves the session. Thank you very much.
Well, a very good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Just to say how very delighted I am to be the first Governor General attending one of these conferences with my wife, and to welcome all of you to Antigua and Barbuda. I want to say how very pleased I am also to have listened to the report from the principal. I think that it was a very comprehensive and all-inclusive report. It also speaks to our university playing its part when we look at the support that was given to Antigua and Barbuda and the other islands following Hurricane Irma. We all know that small island developing states are very prone to these disasters, and it was very good that our university was able to be there with us and to assist us in getting back on our feet. I'm also very pleased at the fact that our university, the University of the West Indies, is seeking now to bring the 5th campus of the University of the West Indies here in Antigua and Barbuda. And I certainly want to commend our Vice Chancellor and our Pro-Vice Chancellor and Principal for the work that they have been doing in ensuring that we spread education. As was said by our Vice Chancellor, the two main challenges facing the university and facing our region has to do with finance, and it has to do with relevance, the type of courses that we give to our people so that they can play their rightful part in the development of our region and the individual countries. And also the fact that we see so many women playing their part in keeping with the United Nations Charter. And I want to tell you that here in Antigua, that has been, that is developing as the case, because we now have 9 senators in our Senate of 17 people. And my independent senator was also a woman. So having said that, I must say it was a most enjoyable morning, very informative and educational for me, and I will certainly give my full support and encouragement to ensure that Antigua and Barbuda meets its financial obligation to the university. Thank you all very much, and have a nice day.
On your behalf, I would like to thank Sir Rodney and his wife for joining us for this session, and for again ensuring that the Open Campus creates another historical moment. I now invite everyone to stand for the departure of the Governor General and his wife. And to remind everyone that we will be having a more relaxing evening with Sir Rodney this evening.